friends, and welcome to Coach by Tara, the podcast where Tara...
Hi, that's me.
...explains things to me, hi, I'm Mike, like books. Actually, it's just been books, only books.
It's just been one book.
Specifically one book, Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. If we sound a little different today, that's because due to COVID type things, none of us have COVID, we're fine. But
Thank goodness.
To COVID type things, we had to be separate for this episode. So Tara's over a Zoom call. And so bear with us this week on that. It doesn't sound that bad, I think.
I don't think it sounds that... I mean, I'm only hearing your voice, though, so...
Yeah, and I'm only hearing your voice, so...
Watch it sound like we're like robots on when I hear the recording
If we're robots, I apologize. Anyway, last episode, we went through chapter 18, The Hunt.
Yeah, The Hunt.
The Hunt, which was a pretty effed up chapter.
I was going to say.
And
I feel like you kind of knew what was going to happen that last chapter, but not really.
I had an inkling.
You had a feeling.
I had a feeling.
You had an intuition.
I had a feeling. A feeling deep inside. Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, like the Beatles. Anyway,
like the Beatles.
I'm gonna explain chapter 18 to y'all. So basically, what happens is, their game's interrupted by three people. Shit. What's his Laurent? Laurent and girl with leaves in her hair. And Victoria and Stevie? What's his name? David?
James.
I knew it was like a normal ass name. Anyway.
So you said Stevie as a normal name?
Well, I knew it wasn't Stevie, but I was like, Steven?
I mean, Steve would be like normal, but
Yeah.
Stevie would be like not normal, I feel like.
I don't know, you okay, whatever. Anyway, so they show up and they're like, yo, we want to play baseball with you guys. And Carlisle's like, okay, we just finished, dude. So maybe next time. And then he's like, hey, I tell you what, why don't you guys come back to our place? We'll let you shower.
Nice.
We'll let you shower. We'll let you relax. Please don't feed in our area though. You know, because
I feel like Carlisle's just so hospitable. Like he really did try.
Well, and I think it was the idea of like killing them with kindness so they don't try to kill Bella. And then everything's going well. It seems like they're like, yeah, we'll definitely take you up and we want to learn more about you and da-da-da-da. And then the wind blows and James gets a whiff of Bella. And he gets down like, ah, and then Edward's like, ah, and they're like, ah, and they're like, well, hold on, that's a human. And Carlisle's like, she's with us. And he's like, but hold on, that you don't eat her. And he's like, she's with us. So it's this thing. So Edward, Emmett, and
Alice
go with Bella and get her in the Jeep, and they're getting her the heck out of here. And everybody else is going back to the house, including Laurent and his crew. And then it becomes Edward just starts driving as far away as possible. And it becomes like a strategy session where they're trying to figure out what to do about James, because James, we find out, is a tracker, which means he is a vampire who prides himself on hunting down specific prey when he meets them.
Yes.
And Edward saw his thoughts, and he wants Bella. So he's going to
stop
at nothing.
Till the end of the earth to get her.
Basically, they conversate for a long time about what they're going to do.
Well, they argue, because he's like, Edward's just like, I'm just going to bring her all the way far away from here. And Bella's like, well, no, you can't just take me away. My dad will call the FBI on you.
Also, Charlie might die too.
Yeah, that too. She's scared about that too.
Right. So anyway, they come up with a plan where Alice and Jasper are going to bring Bella to Arizona.
But not to her house.
But not to her house.
To Arizona.
And then in a few days or weeks or whatever, Edward will finally, once they think James is off the trail, or maybe they kill him, Edward will then meet up with Bella at that point. And they're going to tell Charlie that she's just going home. Because she's mad and can't take it here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the plan they come up with.
Yes, exactly.
And that's when the chapter ends.
It is.
Chapter 19, dear. What is chapter 19 called?
Chapter 19 is called Goodbyes. I know. It's gonna be a rough one here.
That's
Hello?
scary. Hi.
Hi. I couldn't hear you for a second.
Oh, because I was so on Discord,
Mm-hmm.
when you get really loud, it cuts out.
Oh.
So
I was like, hello?
I was screeching.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
screeching, and so it probably just cut out completely. Anyway, but on the recording, it will be good. So,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
are you ready to willfully kidnap me and bring me to Arizona?
Yes, I am.
Also, coach me on this next chapter of Twilight.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Okay, awesome. We'll be right back.
Okay.
That's the halftime show music.
Mike,
Yes, Tara?
are you ready to be coached?
I am so ready to be coached.
All right, here we go. I'm not ready for it.
That's a little yikes.
Chapter 19, Goodbyes. Here we go. The last chapter kind of ended, as you said, like they came up with the final plan, and they're kind of gonna go back to the house, like her house, Bella's house. The chapter starts with the first line. It says, "Charlie was waiting up for me." So she's basically trying to not think about what she has to do, because obviously this isn't something she wanted to do. Like, she doesn't want to leave Forks.
Right.
But she has to make it seem like that is what she wants, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they pull up. Edward kind of just does a quick kind of trying to figure out if James is there right now, and he isn't. So she's just kind of worried, waiting to go into the house, trying to figure out how she's gonna do it. And Emmett's like, don't worry, Bella, we'll take care of things here really quickly, because he senses that she doesn't want to be away from here, so away from Forks. So it says, I felt moisture filling up my eyes as I looked at Emmett. I barely knew him, and yet somehow not knowing when I would see him again after tonight was anguishing. I knew this was just a faint taste of the goodbyes I would have to survive in the next hour, and the thought made the tears begin to spill. So she's really upset, right? Because she's like, not only am I going to have to leave Emmett, who just said this really nice thing to me, who I barely know, but I also have to somehow make up a story to Charlie on why I'm leaving, and I also have to leave Edward behind, because Edward's, not coming.
Right.
Edward has Alice and Emmett leave because, they're gonna go prep to do, the next portion or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Edward's you have 15 minutes, you can reminded her, you have 15 minutes to, make this happen, right? And she's like, okay, I can do this. And he stops her, and he's like, I love you. Or no, she stops him, sorry. I love you, I said in a low, intense voice. I will always love you, no matter what happens now. Nothing is going to happen to you, Bella, he said just as fiercely. Just follow the plan, okay? Keep Charlie safe for me, Bella says. He's not going to like me very much after this, and I want to have the chance to apologize later. Edward says, Get inside, Bella. We have to hurry. His voice was urgent. One more thing, I whispered passionately. Don't listen to another word I say tonight. He was leaning in, and so all I had to do was stretch up on my toes to kiss his surprised, frozen lips with as much force as I was capable of. Then I turned and kicked the door open. So here, this basically begins her plan, because Belle's kind of smart.
Right.
She kind of dumb because she's dating a vampire, but she kind of smart.
She's kind of dumb, but she also kind of smart.
Yes. So she says, Go away, Edward, I yelled at him, running inside and slamming the door shut in his still shocked face. Bella? Charlie had been hovering in the living room and was already on his feet. Leave me alone, I screamed at him through my tears, which were flowing relentlessly now. I ran up the stairs to my room, throwing the door shut and locking it. I ran to my bed, flinging myself on the floor to retrieve my duffel bag. I reached swiftly between the mattress and box spring to grab the knotted old sock that contained my secret cash hoard. Charlie was pounding on my door. Bella, are you okay? What's going on? His voice was frightened. I'm going home, I shouted, my voice breaking in the perfect spot. Did he hurt you? His tone edged toward anger. No, I shrieked a few octaves higher. I turned to my dresser, and Edward was already there, silently yanking out armfuls of clothes, which he proceeded to throw to me. Did he break up with you? Charlie was perplexed. No, I yelled, slightly more breathless, as I shoved everything into the bag. Edward threw another drawer's contents at me. The bag was pretty much full now. What happened, Bella? Charlie shouted through the door, pounding again. I broke up with him, I shouted back, jerking on the zipper of my bag. Edward's capable hands pushed mine away and zipped it smoothly. He put the strap carefully over my arm. I'll be in the truck. Go, he whispered, and pushed me towards the door. He vanished out the window. I unlocked the door and pushed past Charlie roughly, struggling with my heavy bag as I ran down the stairs. What happened? He yelled. He was right behind me. I thought you liked him. He caught my elbow in the kitchen. Though he was still bewildered, his grip was firm. He spun me around to look at him, and I could see in his face that he had no intention of letting me leave. I could think of only one way to escape, and it involved hurting him so much that I hated myself for even considering it. But I had no time, and I had to keep him safe. I glared up at my father, fresh tears in my eyes for what I was about to do. I do like him. That's the problem. I can't do this anymore. I can't put down any more roots here. I don't want to end up trapped in this stupid, boring town like Mom. I'm not going to make the
Oh
same dumb
my
mistake
God,
she
Bella.
did. I know.
Bella.
I know.
Poor
I'm not-
Charlie.
I know. I told you it was going to be heartbreaking.
What the frick?
I'm
you
not
know,
going
you know what Skinamax he's gonna watch to recover from this?
Lots, probably.
Oh my gosh. Charlie.
I'm not going to make the same dumb mistake she did. I hate it. I can't stay here another minute. His hand dropped from my arm like I'd electrocuted him. I turned away from his shocked, wounded face and headed for the door. Bells, you can't leave now. It's nighttime, he whispered behind me. I didn't turn around. I'll sleep in the truck if I get tired. Just wait another week, he pled, still shell-shocked. Renee will be back by then. This completely derailed me. What? Charlie continued eagerly, almost babbling with relief as I hesitated. She called while you were out. Things aren't going so well in Florida, and if Phil doesn't get signed by the end of the week, they're going back to Arizona. The assistant coach of the Sidewinders said they might have a spot for another shortstop. I shook my head, trying to reassemble my now confused thoughts. Every passing second put Charlie in more danger. I have a key, I muttered, turning the knob. He was too close, one hand extended toward me, his face dazed. I couldn't lose any more time arguing with him. I was going to have to hurt him further.
No!
Just let me go, Charlie. I repeated my mother's last words as she'd walked out the same door so many years ago. I said them as angrily as I could manage, and I threw the door open. It didn't work out, okay? I really, really hate forks.
Charlie,
so
Charlie.
She repeated the same words. Like, how dare she?
That's fucked up, Bella.
I know.
No, this is unforgivable.
Well, if you think about it, though, like, I mean, it's the smart thing to do. That, like, you know, because I mean, how hard would it be to like convince your parent not to let you go when you're like not an adult? Like my dad would have probably stopped at the ends of the earth to like not make me not run away.
Right.
So it says, my cruel words did their job. Charlie stayed frozen on the doorstep, stunned, while I ran into the night. I was hideously frightened of the empty yard. I ran wildly for the truck, visualizing a dark shadow behind me. I threw my bag in the bed and wrenched the door open. The key was waiting in the ignition. I'll call you tomorrow, I yelled, wishing more than anything that I could explain everything to him right then, knowing I would never be able to. I gunned the engine and peeled out. Edward reached for my hand. Pull over, he said, as the house and Charlie disappeared behind us. I can drive, I said through the tears pouring down my cheeks. But basically, he took over anyways. He, like, basically moved her
Right.
across the car, like, without
She's
even...
in no condition to drive, and
Yeah.
she's not a great driver even if she was.
Yeah, so isn't that, like, the worst part of this chapter ever, babe?
I can't believe that we had to treat Charlie that way.
I know, poor innocent Charlie. Like, in the long run, like, she's trying to protect him, and she's doing the best she can to do that. And she's pretty smart in the
At
way...
what cost, though?
I know, his heartbreak.
Charlie!
His heartbreak. I was, like, devastated when I first read that. I was like, there's no effing way. Like, and I think it hits hard for everyone, but I feel like it hits hard for people whose parents, like, aren't together, right? Because you can't just, like, imagine... Like, for me, I don't know, like, obviously, like, what my parents' scenario was when they last left each other or whatever, but you can't, like, you don't want to, like, imagine that scenario. So, like, to know that she knows, like, the last words he said to... The last words, like, her mom said to him, and then using those against him, like, ugh.
I feel like it's almost like too five-head. It's like too smart. Like, would he even remember exactly what she said? You know what I mean?
I think they tried to set it up so that you kind of know that he would, because, like, you know, he's basically never moved on.
Right.
He doesn't have another person. He has their whole house. Like, you know, they tried to set that up earlier by saying, like, you know, the house hadn't changed since, you know, she left. Like, it's all painted the same as what his mom did.
He only watches Skinamax.
Yeah, that too. So, I don't know. I feel like they kind of set it up to where it's, like, known that he clearly, like, never moved on.
He's a sad, lonely boy, that Charlie.
Poor
and then his
Charlie.
daughter just did that to him, too.
I know. Ugh. Okay. So then Edward switched spots with Bella, you know, and he's like, you know, you wouldn't even be able to find my house anyways, like, because it's so dark out, and she's just, like, not in the best state to even drive. Like,
so wait. She's bringing him to his house?
Like, they're driving in her truck to his house, I think, to, like, reconvene so she can meet up with Alice and Jasper to leave.
Isn't that where James is?
No, I think I didn't really say. Let me go back to chapter 18. Because it's been, like, hours now.
Right.
I think, like, they just decide, you know, like, it's not gonna, you know, so Carlisle in chapter 18 says, she's with us, you know, like, yeah, I mean, I guess they did go back there, but, you know, it's been a while since then, so it's just assumed that they're not there anymore.
Okay.
So then a car, like, shows up behind them, and it kind of freaks her out, and he's like, oh, don't worry, like, it's just Alice. And she's like, okay, so what about the tracker? And Edward says, he actually heard the end of your performance. And she's like, oh my gosh, like, is he still there with Charlie? He's like, no, he's actually following us right now. He's running behind us. And she's, like, freaked out. And she's like, can we outrun him? He says no, because, like, they're driving her truck.
Right.
But, and she's, like, kind of like, oh my gosh, like, the line says, my plan suddenly didn't feel so brilliant anymore. She was staring back at the headlights of Alice's car, when suddenly, like, a dark shadow was, like, right up against, like, their back pickup truck window. And she, like, screams so loud. It says, my blood-curdling scream lasted a fraction of a second before Edward's hand clamped down on my mouth. It's Emmett. He released my mouth and wound his arm around my waist. It's okay, Bella, he promised. You're going to be safe. So they're, like, heading back.
So Bella's like, she was all tough. Oh, I'm going to date a vampire. It's going to be fine. Yeah. And now she's like, oh my God, I'm going to die every second.
Right. I mean, it's been kind of scary.
Oh, no, for sure. But, I mean, she's kind of reaping what she sowed here.
I know. I mean, I don't think they thought that there was going to be other vampires. Like, she didn't think that there were going to be other vampires in the mix, but clearly there are. But
I mean, that's the problem. She didn't think.
she didn't think. She's smart, but she's not smart.
She's smart, but she's not smart.
Um,
Nice job, Bella.
Nice job, Bella.
Bella.
And he's just like me, like Edward's just making conversation because they're basically just getting an escort back to their house. I think to Edward's house. So he said, I didn't realize you were still so bored with small town life, he said conversationally, and I knew he was just trying to distract me. It seemed like you were adjusting fairly well, especially recently. Maybe I was just flattering myself that I was making life more interesting for you. I wasn't being nice, I confessed, ignoring his attempt at diversion, looking down at my knees. That was the same thing my mom said when she left him. You could say I was hitting below the belt. Don't worry, he'll forgive you. He smiled a little, even though it didn't touch his eyes. I stared at him desperately, and he saw naked panic in my eyes. Bella, it's going to be all right. But it won't be all right when I'm not with you, I whispered. We'll be together again in a few days, he said, tightening his arm around me. Don't forget
this was your idea.
He says, don't forget, this was your idea.
Oh my goodness
It was
gracious,
the best idea.
Bella.
Of course it was mine. Why did this happen? I asked, my voice catching. Why me? He stared blackly at the road ahead. It's my fault. I was a fool to expose you like that. The rage in his voice was directed internally. That's not what I meant, I insisted. I was there, big deal. It didn't bother the other two. But why did this James decide to kill me? There are people all over the place. So why me? He hesitated, thinking before he answered. I got a good look at his mind tonight, he began in a low voice. I'm not sure if there's anything I could have done to avoid this once he saw you. It is partially your fault, his voice was wry. If you didn't smell so appallingly luscious, he might not have bothered. But when I defended you, well, that made it a lot worse. He's not used to being thwarted, no matter how insignificant the object. He thinks of himself as a hunter and nothing else. His existence is consumed with tracking, and a challenge is all he asks of life. Suddenly, we presented him with a beautiful challenge. A large clan of strong fighters, all bent on protecting the one vulnerable element. You wouldn't believe how euphoric he is now. It's his favorite game, and we've just made it his most exciting game ever. His tone was full of disgust. He paused a moment. But if I had stood by, he would have killed you right then, he said with hopeless frustration. I thought I didn't smell the same to the others as I do to you, I said hesitantly. You don't, but that doesn't mean that you aren't still a temptation to every one of them. If you had appealed to the tracker, or any of them, the same way you appealed to me, it would have meant a fight right there. I shuddered. I don't think I have any choice but to kill him now, he muttered. Carlisle won't like it.
Carlisle.
Carlisle, because Carlisle's
he's peaceful. He's peaceful, man.
One.
But you know what? Sometimes to make an omelet, you gotta break a few eggs. You know what I'm saying?
Right. How can you kill a vampire? Bella asks. He glanced at me with unreadable eyes, and his voice was suddenly harsh. The only way to be sure is to tear him to shreds and then burn the pieces. And the other two will fight with him. The woman will. I'm not sure about Laurent. They don't have a very strong bond. He's only with them for convenience. He was embarrassed by James out in the meadow. But James and the woman, they'll try to kill you? I asked, my voice raw. Bella, don't you dare waste your time worrying about me. Your only concern is keeping yourself safe, and please try not to be reckless. Is he still following us? Yes, he won't attack the house though, not tonight. So they basically pull up to the house then. Like Emmett basically gets to the truck like as they get up to the house, and because he was just like, he was riding in the back, but he like opens the door for her and whatever. Yeah, it says we burst into the large room, Edward and Alice at our sides, like so at Emmett and her side, like at Bella's side. All of them were there. They were already on their feet at the sound of our approach. Laurent stood in their midst. I could hear low growls rumble deep in Emmett's throat as he set me down next to Edward. He's tracking us, Edward announced, balefully at Laurent. Laurent's face was unhappy. I was afraid of that. Alice danced to Jasper's side and whispered in his ear. Her lips quivered with the speed of her silent speech. They flew up the stairs together. Rosalie watched them and then moved quickly to Emmett's side. Her beautiful eyes were intense, and when they flickered unwillingly to my face, furious. What will he do? Carlyle asked Laurent in chilling tones. I'm sorry, he answered. I was afraid when your boy there defended her that it would set him off. Can you stop him? Laurent shook his head. Nothing stops James when he gets started. We'll stop him, Emmett promised. There was no doubt what he meant. You can't bring him down. I've never seen anything like him in my 300 years. He's absolutely lethal. That's why I joined his coven. His coven, I thought, of course. The show of leadership in the clearing was merely that, a show. Laurent was shaking his head. He glanced at me perplexed and back to Carlyle. Are you sure it's worth it? Laurent basically asked Carlyle.
Laurent, yo, this chick is going to get some people killed. Right. Are you sure?
Not people, vampires.
Well, the vampires are people.
Are they people too?
You racist.
No, I'm just saying.
Just kidding.
And then Edward roars in rage, and Laurent's like, okay.
Laurent's like, oh, my bee.
Yeah, Carlyle looked gravely at Laurent. I'm afraid you're going to have to make a choice. Laurent understood. He deliberated for a moment, and his eyes took in every face and finally swept the bright room. I'm intrigued by the life that you've created here, but I won't get in the middle of this. I bear none of you any enmity, but I won't go up against James. I think instead I will head north to that clan in Denali. He hesitated. Don't underestimate James. He's got a brilliant mind and unparalleled senses. He's every bit as comfortable in the human world as you seem to be, and he won't come at you head on. I'm sorry for what's been unleashed here. Truly sorry. He bowed his head, but I saw him flicker another puzzled look at me. Go in peace, was Carlyle's formal answer. Laurent took another long look around the room himself, and then he hurried out the door. The silence lasted less than a second. How close? Carlyle looked to Edward. About 3 miles out past the river. He's circling around to meet up with the female. So they're basically just forming their own plan now.
Right.
So they're gonna lead him off, Edward and Emmett, I think. And then Jasper and Alice will run Bella south. So they're going the opposite direction. And then Edward, and then Carlisle's like, okay, then what? What do we do after that? And then Edward's like, well, as soon as Bella is clear, we hunt him. They're gonna hunt James.
Right.
And Carlisle's
they're gonna hunt the hunter.
Yeah, and Carlisle's he grimaces, but he's like, I guess there's really no other choice. Because he always wants to keep the peace. Obviously he's there. He's always been I don't know. He doesn't eat humans, for God's sake. He's not gonna hurt a vampire, but he's gonna do what he has to do too. Then
Bella can't die.
Right. Bella can't die. That's been established. But then Edward's he basically tells Rosalie, get her upstairs and trade clothes with her, because Rosalie's staying behind too. Rosalie and Esme. And she says, why should I? She hissed. What is she to me except a menace, a danger you've chosen to inflict on all of us? And everyone's like, oh, shit.
All right, Rosalie.
Right. I flinched back from the venom in her voice. Rose, Emmett murmured.
He murmured.
Putting one hand on her shoulder. She shook it off. But I was watching Edward carefully, knowing his temper and worried about his reaction. He surprised me. He looked away from Rosalie as if she hadn't spoken, as if she didn't even exist. Esme, he asked calmly. Of course. So as he was I'm not even gonna fight her right now.
Right.
I'm just gonna have Esme do it. Yeah.
We ain't got time for this, Rosalie.
Bella's like, hey, why are we doing this? What are we doing? And Esme's like, well, we're gonna try to confuse the smell. It won't work for very long, but it will help you get out of town. So like she's going to
They're gonna switch clothes.
Yeah, so Esme's gonna like run off with Edward to make it seem like they went together, right?
Right.
And it's not gonna hold him off very long, but it will for a little while. And then so like while they were upstairs, like they changed really quick, and then like they come back downstairs and it seems like everything's really been like everything else was settled like when she was upstairs changing.
Question. Couldn't James be listening to all this?
Yeah, but he had just said before like they were 3 miles away, like north. He was like
because Edward can read his thoughts. They know where he is. Okay,
right.
Got it.
It's not like James can do the opposite. So
right, he can't read their thoughts.
Right.
So that's the trump card. That's the wild card.
That's a true trump card. I mean that, and the fact that Alice has a gift too.
Right.
Of seeing the partial future.
But what if James has a gift?
His I mean, not to like spoil, it's not a spoiler, but like his gift is the tracking, I would say. Like not his gift, but like that's what he is. But not all vampires have gifts.
Right. I know that, but I'm saying what if he did though?
Yeah, that's true. What
if his gift was appearing 3 miles away when he was really right there?
That'd be scary.
Yeah.
But not true. So Carlisle was gives Esme a phone and then gives Alice a phone. It's like
crack phone? Flip phone?
They're like flip phones, I think.
Oh yeah. Boost Mobile.
And Carlisle says, Esme and Rosalie will be taking your truck, Bella. He told me as he passed. I nodded, glancing warily at Rosalie. She was glowering at Carlisle with a resentful expression. Alice and Jasper take the Mercedes. You'll need the dark tint in the south. We're taking the Jeep. I was surprised to see that Carlisle intended to go with Edward. I realized suddenly with a stab of fear that they made up the hunting party. So, like, now we know how everyone's kind of split up.
Right.
So, like, Esme and Rosalie are taking the truck and, like, pretending to be, Edward and Bella. And then Alice and Jasper and Bella are taking their Mercedes to drive south to Phoenix. And then Edward, Carlisle, and Emmett are going to be the hunting party.
Sounds like a plan to me.
And Carlisle's like, Alice, like, will they take the bait? And Alice is like trying to read the future. And she says, he'll track you. The woman will follow the truck. We should be able to leave after that. So she was pretty certain. She's like pretty certain that that's what's going to happen. And Carlisle, like, so then everything, everything's going to go. Like, plans to go. Here we go.
Right. Plans to go. Here we go.
But Edward was at my side at once. He caught me up in his iron grip, crushing me to him. He seemed unaware of his watching family as he pulled my face to his, lifting my feet off the floor. For the shortest second, his lips were icy and hard against mine. Then it was over. He set me down, still holding my face, his glorious eyes burning into mine. His eyes went blank as he turned away, and they were gone. We stood there, the others looking away from me as the tears streaked down my face. So then, basically, Esme calls the phone, and they're like, okay, like, now is the time to go, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, it was Edward and Carlisle went first, and then they called Esme, and it was time for Esme and Rosalie to go.
Right.
And then Esme just tells Bella, like, be safe. And then Alice gets a call a few, like, minutes later, and Edward says the woman is on Esme's trail, so we're going to get the car and we're going to leave while we have the opening. So then she, like, goes and gets the car, and Jasper and I looked at each other. He stood across the length of the entryway from me, being careful. You're wrong, he said quietly. What? I gasped. I can feel what you're feeling right now, and you are worth it. I'm not, I mumbled.
Aww.
If anything happens to them, it will be for nothing. You're wrong, he repeated, smiling kindly at me. Isn't that so nice? They have, like, their own little moment.
Right, that was nice.
Because Jasper can, like, feel emotions, and change them. But I always loved that little part because I don't think that's in the movie, but it shows like their first like genuine interaction.
Right.
Oh, it's so sweet. He's so nice.
That Jasper.
I heard nothing, but then Alice stepped through the front door and came toward me with her arms held out. May I? She asked. You're the first one to ask permission. I smiled wryly because everyone else just like throws her over their shoulder and runs.
Right.
She lifted me in her slender arms as easily as Emmett had, shielding me protectively, and then we flew out the door, leaving the lights bright behind us. So I don't know why they started running. Because that's the end of the chapter, actually.
Oh. So Alice picks up Bella, and that's the end?
That's the end.
Wow. Okay, so
more pretty intense chapter, I think. I mean,
yeah, a lot more strategizing.
Oh yeah.
And then there's the big hey Charlie, fuck you, buddy. There's that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out Laurent wants nothing to do with this shit. He says, I'm outie.
Yeah.
He says, I'm a French gentleman, and I ain't got time for this le shit.
I mean, I think I would be the same if I were him, like it sounds like he just joined them because he was alone. And he's like, wait, I'm literally not here for like this fight though.
Right. I literally don't want to be a part of this because this guy's kind of a psychopath, but that's why I joined him.
Exactly. And he's like actually curious on like living a life that's like Carlisle's and their friends in Denali. So
also, he's not the leader.
Yes, he's not the leader.
He was like acting like the leader, and then he wasn't.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Crazy. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we're gonna see what happens next. I'm assuming the plan is gonna get put into
some place. Yeah.
Formation.
It's
for chapter
crazy.
20.
We really only have 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24, and then the epilogue. I mean, it's basically like 6 chapters, but
yeah,
things are about to get. I mean, I always say that things are about to get crazy, but like this is like.
I'm gonna make a CBT T-shirt.
Things are about to get crazy.
It's gonna say, "Coached by Tara." Things are about to get crazy.
Things are about to get real wild and also nuts.
Nuts. Things are about to get nuts. Anyway, Tara, thank you so much for coaching me today.
You're welcome.
Even though we're miles apart, I still feel you in my heart.
Aw.
I wrote that.
Too in my heart.
Aww. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We will see you guys next week.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
You didn't say bye when I did, so I had to hold it.
Bye.
Bye.